What's up guys, today we're going to build a PC for only 165 euros. This isn't the tutorial for how to build a PC around this price point, but it's more just to show you that a PC doesn't have to cost 1000 euros. Okay, so for this PC build, I've bought most parts used. I recommend for this price point you're going to buy things used, because otherwise it's gonna be impossible to build a PC around this price point. So let's start with the motherboards, CPU and RAM combo. I bought this MSI B85-G41 PC Mate with an i5 4590 and two sticks of 4 gigabytes each, so 8 gigabytes in total. So yeah, I recommend if you find a 4th gen i5 with 8 gigabytes of RAM, I recommend dual channel, not just one stick, but I recommend at least 2 sticks. So if you find that with a motherboard, I recommend you buy it because it's a really good deal. Now the GPU is an R7 260X. It isn't the best GPU, but for only 30 euros, it's okay. It's not that great of a GPU, but it's gonna get the job done with like low-end gaming. So I want to preface that this PC isn't gonna be able to handle big games like Cyberpunk 2077. I just want to make that clear. This is gonna be for games like Minecraft and Fortnite and Valorant, these type of games. But you'll see in the benchmarks later on what the PC is capable of doing, so stick around for that. Now here we have the power supply. It's here it is, 500 watt Cooler Master Masterwatt Lite. I bought this used from a seller I know just sells reputable or well working power supplies, so I do recommend buying a power supply new if you can fit that into the budget, because buying a used power supply can be very sketchy. If you buy a used power supply and it doesn't work, it might kill one of your other components with it, so I recommend buying a power supply new. Now here we have the SSD with the SATA cable. It's just a regular old SATA cable, but this is the PNY 240 gigabyte SSD. Let's see, it's a CS900 SSD. It has 240 gigabytes of storage. It's just a budget SSD. I bought it for 25 euros new on Amazon. I recommend going for something around the price point. 25 euros to 30 euros for an SSD isn't that bad if it's 240 gigabytes. But yeah, I recommend going for more if you're going to use more. Now for the case, I bought the Oversteel Iridium gaming PC case. This is the white version. I heard good and bad things about this case, so I'm really curious to see what it's like. I think it's gonna be really interesting to build in this, seeing as it has an RGB LED strip in the front here, and an RGB fan, 120mm fan in the back, and it only costs 45 euros. So yeah. Oh, and I forgot to mention, the power supply was only 30 euros including shipping, and the SATA cable was 5 or something. So when you add everything up, it's gonna add up to around 165 euros. So yeah, I think we're gonna be building a really cool budget gaming PC with this, so let's get on with the build. I think, yes, this case does actually come with tempered glass. So that's actually a pretty good sign of what's to come. I think this will actually be a really cool case to build in, and I think it's gonna look really nice. So as I said, we have a 120mm fan at the back. It's ARGB. So I'm really curious how it connects and how everything is going to work, because I couldn't find what RGB connector it uses, so I'm really curious to see. Okay, so there's actually plastic on both sides of the panel, which is really nice, because that way you can just grab it like this when building the PC, so you don't have to worry about staining the glass. Make sure you put the glass somewhere safe so it doesn't break. Okay, so when I first look at the PC, the first thing I see is that there's a massive clutter of cables. So yeah, you're really gonna have to start cable matching immediately. Which, well, you can't really ask for too much when you're building in a PC case that only costs 45 euros, but it would have been nice. This is a little bag which has a couple zip ties, I guess the manual, and some screws you're going to need. So yeah, that's I mean, it isn't the best packing, but it's better than nothing, I guess. Okay, so I've just rerouted all the cables either through here, and this one had to go through this hole because it was just not long enough to go through this hole and then to the connector it's connecting to. But yeah, if you just cable tie or zip tie it here to one of these small holes. I don't know if you can see it, but there's a small hole here you can zip tie it to, and then you will not notice it's there. So yeah, I think for now it's fine. So I do recommend seeing if you're going to build a PC, look if your motherboard standoffs are screwed in already, and if they're screwed in the correct position, because sometimes they're not going to be screwed in the correct position, or they're just not going to be screwed in at all. So you're going to have to look in the screw bag or box you got if there are actually extra motherboard standoffs, so you can screw it in the correct spaces. Okay, if you're going to build a PC, I recommend for some, well, because it's a budget case, all the screws that you're going to have are, oh my god, in one small bag. So I recommend just putting them all in a little box, or well, this is the top of a case, but it's okay. So if you just put it in something small, so you can so you won't lose any cable. Something I think is pretty a big bummer is that all the screws that come with the case are silver, so you will see them. So it will be more obvious when you build with the case, but I guess that's a sacrifice you're making when you're going to build in a case that's only 45 euros. Alright, so with the power supply in, I really like how it looks actually. I think the black and white contrast will actually look really good with the case. especially because the fan that comes with the case is also black. So yeah, I think this is going to really look nice. Okay, so what I recommend for if you're building a PC, the 4 zip ties you're gonna get with your case are probably not gonna be enough. So I recommend either buying some extra zip ties for like $1 or €1, depends on where you live, of course. But like, spend some extra money for some zip ties because cable management is really important. So if your cables look nicer, it's gonna be a lot better. Okay, so for now, this is the cable management. It's, well, it's nothing special. It's not the best work I've done, but you know, it gets the job done, and I think it's going to be okay, especially since no one's really gonna see it. But you know, this case was really hard to cable manage, especially because the power supply isn't modular. So it really isn't ideal, but I think I still did an okay job. However, it is a clutter down in here, I'm not gonna lie. It doesn't look great in here. So I'm glad that the power supply case is here. For the last thing that we're going to need, I'm going to put in the GPU. So put in the GPU, I think these are those brackets that just break. I forgot what they're called again, but now I used both of these screws are all 4 of these big screws that you use. I used them for the power supply because you only got 4. But you're going to need them for the GPU as well. So since these are breakaway, I'm just going to call them breakaway brackets because it sounds nice. But because these are breakaway, they don't have the screw installed. So this means that you're not going to have more screws for here. So I don't know if you can use these motherboard slash SSD screws, but I am going to try. So if this doesn't work, I will have to grab some of my own screws, which is technically cheating. But if you're going to buy the power supply new, which I really recommend to do, you won't have this issue because you'll just have the screws that come with the power supply for the power supply. Okay, so we're going to put in the GPU, which means we're going to hide this cable. Alright, so what I meant by hiding the cable is the 8-pin power supply, is the power supply connector for the CPU. So as you see, there's a little hole at the graphics card here, and the power supply cable for the CPU is perfectly fit, so it fits perfectly. So yeah, we can just leave this one here, and I think that's the best we can do with this case. So the only thing we need now is the power supply connector for the GPU, and then we're done. Okay, so I screwed it in with SSD mount screws, and it works, so I think this will do. And yeah, for now it's just going to have to be like this. Okay, so this is the final cable management. I think it's okay, it's really nothing special, but you know, it's gonna get the job done. So let's put the backplate on and see if it boots.
Wow, I really love the way this PC turned out, and I definitely love the aesthetics part of this case. However, it is a pretty tough case to build in, so if you are an inexperienced builder, I would definitely recommend a more beginner-friendly case like the NCXT H510. Now let's go over some benchmarks. For this PC, I tested Fortnite and Valorant because I think that these are the best games to play with this PC. With Fortnite, we got an average of 143 FPS while playing in performance mode. The GPU and CPU stayed pretty cool, with both of them staying around the 70 degrees Celsius mark. Now for Valorant, we got an average of 138 FPS while playing on high settings. The GPU did get a little hotter, but still stayed around the 75 degrees Celsius, while the CPU did not even come near the 70 degrees Celsius. The FPS did fluctuate a little during both benchmarks, but I still got a pretty good gaming experience. I was also recording the gameplay at the same time on this PC, so I think if I wasn't recording, I might have even gotten more FPS out of this PC. Thank you for watching all the way to the end of the video. Let me know down in the comments below what you think of this PC and what I could do better in the future. And for now, I hope you have a nice day.